false claims. So to be clear, all Janet Jackson said was, quote, "That's what I heard, that she's Indian, that her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. I was told that they discovered that her father was white."
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I tell you, we're living in some very interesting times. This is election season 2024. This is October, so we're a little bit over a month away now. Well, no, we're actually about exactly a month away from the 2024 election, and the heat is on. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share this channel with somebody if you enjoyed the content on this platform. I appreciate you taking a look at it. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about listening in and talking a little bit about what Candace's latest research concerning Kamala Harris as a black person. Now, I want to say this real quick. I don't care what color a person is when they run. Now, generally speaking, when Obama decided to run for the African American community, it looked like it was a wonderful thing to see someone in the office who looked just like us. Okay, so that was historical in and of itself. Now, his policies, that's a different matter. Kamala's is branding herself or calling herself a black person. Listen, I don't care. This is the issue we have with her. It's called trust. Trustworthiness. Is she worthy of our trust? Of course, you're going to have people on one side of the aisle say yes. You have people on the other of the aisle say no. Actually, I'm going to say there's a third group. They don't care. Some of them do not care whether she's lying or not. She better than Trump. Okay. So those are the three groups of people. You get to choose which side you're going to be on. Speaking for myself, all I care about is the truth more than anything, even if I'm uncomfortable with it. All right, let's get into this.
All right, so let's recap. Yesterday, I can admit I was completely triggered. I was triggered by the manner in which the Guardian, or a Guardian reporter rather, treated Janet Jackson in a profile piece. It was very obvious they were trying to do the wacko jacko bit again, like they did with her brother. So to remind you, Janet Jackson brought up in her interview human trafficking, child trafficking, and the journalist then decided to heavily imply that Janet Jackson was just nuts to pretend that we have a child trafficking issue in this country. And then when the reporter switched gears and asked her about supporting Kamala Harris as the first female black president, Hollywood's all got to get in line and support this woman or else, Janet Jackson simply said that she had heard that Kamala was not black and that she was in fact Irish, and the media predictably went completely crazy. I mean, here are some of the headlines here. NBC, Janet Jackson tells interviewer she's heard Kamala Harris is not black, echoing election disinformation. Oh, love that word. Newsweek, Janet Jackson's Kamala Harris remarks spark black backlash. The Independent, she's not black. Janet Jackson makes shocking comments about Kamala Harris's heritage. And of course, the New York Times, Janet Jackson repeats false claims about Kamala Harris's race. False claims. So to be clear, all Janet Jackson said was, quote, "That's what I heard, that she's Indian, that her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. I was told that they discovered that her father was white." Okay, that is all that she said that led to all of this craziness in the media trying to paint her like she was some sort of a psycho. And then her manager, a guy named Mo Elmarzi that I'm showing you a picture of here, he offered an apology on Janet Jackson's behalf to BuzzFeed. He said, quote, "Janet Jackson would like to clarify her recent comments. She recognizes that her statements regarding Vice President Kamala Harris's racial identity were based on misinformation. Janet respects Harris's dual heritage as both black and Indian and apologizes for any confusion caused. She values the diversity that Harris represents and understands the importance of celebrating that in today's society. Janet remains committed to promoting unity and understanding," end quote. And guess what happened? Janet Jackson fired him immediately and said that he was not authorized to make that statement at all. And she was not apologizing because she was not sorry, and good for her.
Right, real talk.
I'm glad she fired him. I am so tired of people being so fake, having to apologize for something that should not have yielded any response from the media. In fact, it should have been the opposite. They should have went ahead and investigated the claim that Kamala Harris is black.
But we know they won't do that because they are a part. Listen, I'm going to do another video that's James O'Keefe put up. Very important video. Y'all don't want to miss that video. I'm telling y'all, James O'Keefe does great work in researching, and in search of the truth.
Gotten to the bottom of it fully, but instead it was a media pylon. And then after being fired, Mo added to that pylon by referring to Janet Jackson as unbalanced. Like the person who just worked for her came out and was like, she's unbalanced. I mean, with friends like that, who needs enemies?
Right.
Then came me. I don't know. I guess I really am the person that has been in these streets, Kamala, because I decided to simply look into her genealogy, because why on earth is the world trying to convince me that this woman is suddenly black? Like they just decided she was black because she's running, and because there is evidence, it is true, that her father grew up in Jamaica. Your race does not magically change because of where you grow up, okay? If I grow up in Sweden, I don't get to suddenly say I'm white, okay? And what I discovered was quite startling. Now, I'll ask you, when did you first get the idea that Kamala was black? Well, you'll say, yeah, when she kind of started running with Joe Biden. And that claim really came from Kamala herself. When they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, they understood that Kamala Harris published a book in 2019 called The Truth That We Hold. And presumably the book was filled with truth that she was holding.
Presumably.
I had to look through it. And I saw this picture of her and her grandmother. Clearly a black-looking grandmother on page 282 in the photograph section. It reads, as you can see, visiting my paternal grandmother, Beryl, in Jamaica. Also on that same page, there's another photo of her. Again, you can see it's black and white. I'm not quite sure why it is black and white, but it says, when I was 10 months old, I visited Spanish Town, Jamaica. This is me with my mother and my paternal grandfather, Oscar Joseph. And now this guy looks mixed. He looks Asian of some description, but you can see the idea here is that she's definitely trying to introduce, in a manner of photos, things that make her race look more complicated. So I just decided to investigate that, and immediately things got weird, very weird. First and foremost, because it was very easy for me to determine via just a light search online that Beryl, her alleged paternal grandmother that you just saw, died 4 years before Kamala was born.
Woo! Y'all. Can y'all believe this? I just did another video dealing with the whistleblower exposing some human trafficking deeds. And in that video I was talking about, please go and check that video out too. It's do so prayerfully. It's an very interesting story, very revealing story. It has to do with powerful players, that is, powerful people in place who misuse their power to cover up their misdeeds and or the misdeeds of some of their peers or some of the people that they work for, whatever. This is egregious, y'all. So they've put together a campaign to paint Kamala Harris as a true black American person. Once again, for me, I don't care if you're fully Indian or black or white or Mexican, Hispanic, whatever. When running for our office, as long as you're doing it legally, you can be that. But what you can't do is manipulate me and tell me something when it's not true. In other words, if I can't trust you about your ethnicity, what else are you willing to lie to me about? What else have you fixed in your history? And what will you fix or cover up when you get into power or greater power? Those are the issues that bother me more. Your virtue, your character, whether or not you have integrity. Those are the things that concern me.
In 1960. So last night we decided to continue our research to see if we could find birth certificates and marriage certificates and death certificates, which could further signify those points. And indeed it did. And it also raised even more questions about her genealogy. So let's go through those. Here is the birth certificate for her paternal grandmother. This is Kamala's paternal grandmother, Beryl. Okay, now you can see on this birth certificate that Beryl is spelled with an I. It's Beryl Magdalene. And you can see the reason why we know this is the correct Beryl is because the mother is listed as Iris Finnegan. Later on, we're going to show you in the book, she names Iris Finnegan as her great grandmother. So that would be Beryl's mother. So we have the right woman. Also, formerly, her maiden name is Allen. That is true. It also says here that she's born in October of 1917 in St. Anne. That's the St. Anne parish of Jamaica. And again, you can see it says it is signed by Iris Finnegan. Very clearly, this is the woman that we are looking for. This is Kamala's grandmother, alleged grandmother, Beryl. It's also interesting, by the way, that it lists her great-grandmother as a seamstress because Donald Harris, Kamala's father, wrote in a 2020 piece called Reflections of a Jamaican Father, quote, Miss Iris, that again would be his grandmother, was the mother of 8 children, too, was the sweetest and gentlest person one could meet, but underneath it was a tough farming woman who ran the cane farm at Thatch Walk near Annan Town, jointly owned with her husband, Mr. Christie. Okay, that's weird. So you're telling me that she ran a farm because on that birth certificate it says that actually Iris was a seamstress, but whatever. Let's just park that aside for a second and stick with Beryl, this woman who died before Kamala was born, okay? Because I was feeling pretty certain that not too many people were going to be named Beryl and be born in the St. Anne parish of Jamaica in 1917 to a mother named Iris Finnegan. I felt confident that we could find a little bit more data, and in fact, we did, okay? First, we stumbled across Beryl's marriage certificate, okay? So you can see that right here, and now the name spelling has changed. You have Beryl Finnegan spelled with a Y in the same way that Kamala spells it, and it lists their married date as 1944. Again, you can see the parish that is listed is St. Anne Parish. This is where every piece of Beryl's life seems to take place. It reads here that her calling is a barmaid. And something that jumped out at me was the fact that she's married to someone, as you can see, named Lawford Newland. Okay, so Beryl apparently was married more than once because Lawford Newland is not Donald Harris's father, but Beryl is his mother. So just to be clear, again, it says that she married a guy named Lawford Newland in 1944 when she was 25 years old, okay? It's important to note that that would have been 4 years after she gave birth to Donald Harris, Kamala's father. I find that to be very strange. Also, regarding Kamala's father, we cannot seem to locate, regarding Lawland Newland, the person that she married, we can't find him. Can't find him anywhere. We cannot find a birth certificate. We cannot find a death certificate. We can't find a news item or otherwise. I cannot find this alleged Lawford Newland that apparently her grandma got married to. We also can't find a wedding certificate for Beryl and Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown Harris. That is allegedly supposed to be Donald Harris's father. Okay, so Kamala's grandfather is Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown Harris, and we can't find a marriage certificate between the two of them. That's very strange. As speculated, we were able to confirm that Kamala's Black grandmother that she showed us in that picture died in 1960 before Kamala was born. I can show you right now her death certificate. Let's take a look at Beryl's death certificate, which confirms. As you can see there, it says that she died in July of 1960. It also tells us on the right-hand side, you guys probably have to zoom in on this, but she died of a uterine infection, uterine fibroids due to a hysterectomy. It has her listed as 39 years. That's actually a couple of years off from 1917, so somebody may have gotten their math wrong here. But you once again see that it lists her birthplace as St. Anne. And so this is a huge scandal. Just an absolutely huge scandal. Kamala Harris published in her book that she was standing next to her grandma Beryl, But Grandma Beryl died in 1960, 4 years before Kamala Harris was born. So who the hell is the real Beryl?
So, do you think that Kamala Harris has like a time machine or access to one?
Who is that woman standing next to Kamala Harris? And do you know what I noticed about that woman standing next to her? She looks a lot like the woman that Kamala claims in her book is her great grandmother, Iris. Now, that's Iris Finnegan. Here's the book with my great grandmother, Iris Finnegan in Jamaica. Now, I'm going to give you the side by side of Iris and her alleged daughter, Beryl, who died at 39. Now, that woman on the right is not 39 years old. She's clearly much more advanced
Wow.
in her age. I mean,
Interesting.
we know black don't crack. I mean, that's just a scientific fact. So I would put that woman on the right-hand side, who she tried to pass off as Beryl, and I think is the exact same person.
Looks
I
like it
would
to
say
me.
that woman looks to be about 65. And then it looks like she's more advanced on the left-hand side. The great-grandmother, that's the same person. When I just believe my own eyes, we're looking at the
Yeah.
same person.
Yeah, looks like the same
What
person
do
to
you
me.
guys think when you look at those photos?
I agree with you, Candace.
How the hell does a person who is the vice president of the United States pass off a book, claim that these people that are in her book are her black relatives, and nobody bats an eyelash or does even a peripheral search to recognize that the woman that she put forth is implausibly her grandmother? And by the way, I'm going to say this and people can be offended, but the first thing that I thought when I saw the photo of her sitting on her great grandmother's lap was that this doesn't look like a grandparent affection going on here. Like, this woman looks like she could be working for the family. Quite literally, I thought to myself, this woman looks like she could be the help. And I thought that because there's a lack of affection there. Do you know what I mean? But there's
Yes.
no, like, in both of the photos, there's a lack.
That's a good point, Candace. You don't see any endearment between those two. You don't see the grandmother, supposed grandmother, showing any love or any affection towards that baby. She's just there for a photo op, doing what she was told to do. That's a very interesting point. Another very interesting point. Let me say it that way, because see, this is the issue here. Well, I tell you what. Why don't y'all put in the comments for me? What do you value in a leader, presidentially, of an organization, in your household, someone you look up to, what you value in a mentor? Tell me some of the. Give me say three characteristics you value in a leader. Okay, because that's what this is all about. Can we trust people whom you're about to elect or think we're about to elect to put into a position to help represent us on the world stage? Can we trust them and take them at their word? Do they have any moral compass? That's what we're dealing with here. So please don't just sweep this under the rug. Well, it doesn't matter what color she is. You're right. It doesn't matter until she makes it a point for us to focus on. She made it a matter for us to look at and to focus on so that we can question it or not question it. She put this out there. I didn't go looking for it. I'm sure y'all didn't go looking for it. Most of us just took it at face value. She was what it was. But you can go back to 2019. I may or may not include that in this video. We'll see. What she said herself, that she's of Indian heritage. Yeah, you can check it out. But anyway, this for me is a matter of trustworthiness. And if that doesn't matter to you, if that is not one of the things you value in a leader, then shame on you.
Lack of affection. It's just like a woman standing next to her. And I obviously know that that was a circumstance. When you're talking about a family that had a ton of plantations, which is the reality. She descends from Irish slavers. That is a fact that Kamala Harris cannot deny. She descends from wealthy Irish slavers who virtually they did own the town. They named the town. It was Hamilton Town, then it was Brownstown in Jamaica. He had over 1,000 slaves, okay? It would follow that there would be help around the house. And I'm just going to put here as a question mark, not as a fact. If they're looking at some of these photos of people who became like family and they're trying to pass them off like relatives, again, not a fact, a huge question mark. but my instinct tells me that that person is actually not her family member. And if it is, well, Kamala's got some explaining to do. How did she meet Grandma Beryl almost 20 years after Grandma Beryl died? Kamala Harris looks to be about 20 in that photo that she presented. Then there's another bit of a mystery, as I said. If Beryl married after her or before her wedding when she was 25 years old to the missing Newland, if anybody can find Newland, please let me know. But if Beryl married at some point Oscar Wilde Joseph Brown, where is their marriage certificate? And where is their divorce certificate? Again, I'm only prodding the narrative here because I'm going to need proof that she's Black. The media has now made this a thing, and now you made it so much of a thing that you're attacking people like Janet Jackson when she asks a very reasonable question that you should be able to respond to. And now we have a verifiable lie that Kamala Harris told in her book, or a big uh-oh, because, if I'm being nice, I guess sometimes you think when you're publishing a book that it's a photo of you and your grandmother that you never met or never could have met. Maybe Kamala was just confused and thought it was her grandma, but it was a grandmother that she had, again, never met. Media should be on this, and they should be asking her this question. How did you make this significant of a blunder in your book? And isn't it quite ironic that every photo that you have presented, two of which look like they're the exact same person, one aged on, which begs the question, is that even Kamala Harris in her lap? I don't know. Again, we're at the beginning of this investigation. But it's interesting that amongst all of the relatives, so many Irish white slavers, the only photos that she chose to put in this book are the ones that make it look as though she might be Black. And we have just significantly and without question debunked one of those photos.
Very, very interesting questions. I hadn't read Kamala's book or Kamala's book, however she pronounces her name. I haven't read the book. But once again, this is, again, for some of you out there who's still on the side of it does not matter. It should matter because this is a question of values. Someone wants to pull the wool over your eyes and lie to you to your face. Are you okay with that? Does that not bother you? I know people say they hate Trump. They say he lies all the time. Every time he opens his mouth, unless he says something, they want this negative. If he says something negative about himself or negative about an experience he had to some effect, they'll agree with that. But other than that, all he does is lies. Then again, and most people can't even identify what lie he told. I say most. Some people will take something he said and say he lied about it. So whatever. But Kamala can do no wrong. And she deserves to be put in presidency, basically. Like she was put in this position. But I digress. Be simply because she's a woman who happens to be allegedly Black. And we don't want to ask any questions. And listen, if the media is running a story, I'm talking about all the mainstream media is running in unison, you should look the other way. And when there are stories they won't talk about, you should go and investigate those stories. Just to, what's word? Word to the wise. Word to the wise.
Also, there's something else that I notice about Beryl and Oscar, this alleged married couple, right? Our alleged husband and wife. Each of them are listed as having a lot of siblings. Oscar's siblings are named Hildred May Harris, Newton Alexander Harris, and Ina Doreen Harris. I cannot find a single photo of these siblings. Now, why am I looking for it? Well, because people take family photos all the time. Tons of the stuff is on the internet. I mean, one of those people lived until 2005. Ina Doreen Harris allegedly lived until 2005. I would just like to see a photo to confirm that these are Black relatives. Just want to confirm their race. Can't find a trace. Similarly for Beryl Finnegan has siblings too. Their names are Abraham Judah Finnegan, Noah Pendergast Finnegan, Bernard Washington Finnegan, and Gloria Eugenie Hill. Where are they? Or where are any photos of them, presuming that they've passed? Where are the photos of them?
True.
You got to be somewhere, right?
True.
Something very suspicious is going on. I don't know how it is plausible, guys. Do not allow the media to gaslight us. It is not difficult, okay, for a person that is running for president of the United States to have a tidy background. This is my mom. This is my dad. This is my grandma. That it always seems to be the case that right before they run, they introduce like one or two photos that they allege are from their childhood. This is my grandma. This is my mom. And if you ask any more questions, I'm going to scream at you and call you a racist, is completely ridiculous.
Yep.
We now have a scandal on our hands, okay? And again, this is the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep looking for these relatives. I'm going to confirm that all of these people are in fact Black. I find it strange, just as a little tidbit, that when you go on these genealogy websites, you can see that there's somebody managing the profile. All of the people that are managing the profile for Kamala's relatives are white. What interest would white people around the United States have in managing the profile for this Jamaica family? Unless what Janet Jackson said was true, and that these are her white Irish relatives, and she's been hiding that fact by trying to introduce some random photos of a woman and purporting that that woman is her grandmother. Again, if she's been with you throughout your entire life, Kamala, you could drop some more photos, but no matter what, you lied in your book, okay? You lied in your book. That woman died in 1960, and you were born in 1964, and I find that to be extremely problematic. Like I said, I'm in these streets, just like you, Kamala. If you want to come out and tell the truth, I'm going to be on this. Otherwise, you might as well come up with your storyline, because I don't tend to let go when I have the scent of somebody who's telling a lie. All right, guys, we will pause there. I want to remind you about Goldco. This election season has been insane.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot to chew on that right there. Now, I know some of you may say, well, my life is already busy enough. Well, I have this going on. I have that going on. It doesn't really matter to me. Some people go overboard and say, yeah, I knew she was lying. I knew it. And then you have the people in the middle who are just waiting. I need more evidence. One way or the other. I need the evidence. Listen, for me, I just don't like being lied to. I don't care what she want to claim. She can be Black as far as we know. She can be Irish or whatever the case may be. I don't like being lied to. That matters to me more. So if your values are down here instead of up here, ain't nobody perfect. Yeah, you say that until it's Trump or somebody else you don't like. Let us not be hypocritical. Let us hold people to account. If she's lying about this, what in the world else is she lying about, has lied about, and will lie about? That's the question. We should always ask ourselves, if there's more to the story, if a person is willing to mislead hundreds of millions of people about their ethnicity, what won't they lie about? Just to get a seat of power, by the way. Just to get a seat of power. To gain more votes from the Black community. Let's call it what it is. What aren't they willing to do in other areas? To not only gain power, but to maintain it. Ask some questions, all right? Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share this video. Oh, by the way, Candace, be careful. You're treading hot here. People like this, these groups of folks like this, they don't play. So all I'm saying is be careful. That's all I'm saying. I'm not alleging this or this and that. I'm just saying when you start ruffling certain feathers, upsetting the apple cart, there is no fair play. And there is no boundaries for those who want to protect their own interest and evil agendas. So yes, watch yourself, Candace. And I'll be praying for you. God bless y'all. I'll see you on the next one.